I'm Steve Dangle, and you're listening to Stick to the Pod, which is actually a 2-game suspension if you do that.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 11, Stick to the Pod. Thank you for joining me again, and what a weekend we've got coming up of hockey. I am buzzing for this weekend, I am not going to lie. The Stars have 2 huge games. Bit early to say title deciders, but certainly an opportunity for the Stars to lay down a marker. Another big game as well elsewhere that I'll go through when we come round to it, because I'm just intrigued to see where they are at from last weekend. But first of all, let's get into last week's games. Let's have our weekly roundup and goal scorers, and let's see who's done what. Please bear with me as well. I do have some new equipment. I have got a new microphone. I've listened to you guys. I've looked into the feedback. I've got a new microphone, so it does need a bit of playing around with and going through the settings and seeing which best suits the show. But again, once you listen to this, please give me your feedback. It does help. So if you want to speak to me in person like people have, that's fine. Drop me a message on the Twitter, now known as X, at Stick to the Pod, the Facebook page, Stick to the Pod, or even drop me an email at sticktothepod@gmail.com. Anyway, into those results. So straight into it. No shocks this weekend for me. Everything went as you would expect. Some big score lines, quite a lot of goals scored this weekend. Let's get straight into it. I'll start at top of the tree. The first one that's written down at the top of the sheet, and that's the Billingham Stars 7 and the Nottingham Lions 1. Bit of a funny old game for the Billingham Stars. Obviously had a week off, so this was the first game back. It was only meant to be a 1-game weekend, but they managed to get the fixture that was postponed due to the Adam Johnson incident. So this game was now replayed on Saturday the 25th. Lions a little bit short bench than they normally are, but I don't think that affected them. There was still lots of energy in the legs. Wouldn't say it was a close game. I know it was 3-1, 3 or 4-1 for quite a period of time. 3-1 game, I'm pretty sure. Stars, although putting a lot of energy into the game, trying to get the legs going for bigger games to come, obviously in a week or so's time, which is now this weekend. So there was plenty of energy in the legs. As soon as they turned it up, it was a different story. The goals came quick and fast. As you'd expect for the Lions, Yokoyama scored quite a nifty goal for them. Sykes was a monster for the Stars on the Saturday. Don't know what it was. He had that nasty side of his game going. Stick work, chippiness, chirping, laying out the hits, getting involved in little scrums. That's when Sykes is at his best. He was outstanding on Saturday. The legs were pumping. He was shooting well, and he was rewarded with a very, very good hat-trick. Also, with James Moss missing on Saturday, the second line stood up big time. Ian Brown and Shuggy Galloway were sensational all weekend. You could see that they started to lift it in the Lions game, knowing that they were missing their centre man. So that was great to see from them two stepping up. Into the other fixtures, Blackburn Hawks 5, the Whitley Warriors 1. In terms of the game, it was a quiet game. I think it was more of a businessman-like performance from the Hawks after going down 3-2 at the Hillheads the week before. The couple of fights that happened. But Hawks winning 5-1. Barnes scoring 4, and Royd's getting on the score sheet as well, so it looks like Barnes is starting to turn it up for the Hawks as we get into the thick of the season, and Sean Kipman getting on the score sheet for the Warriors. As for the next game, it was the Hull Jets and the Solihull Barons. Obviously a lot of Stars now having a bit of an eye on other fixtures around the league now. Now we're getting into the 15-16 game mark. You're online, you're looking to see how the Solihull Barons are getting on. You're seeing how the Blackburn Hawks are getting on. This game turned out to be a 6-3 victory for the Solihull Barons, a home loss for the Hull Jets. It was also going to be interesting to see how the Barons go with Dan Mulcahy's 6-game ban and how it was going to be how it would affect that top line. In this game, it hasn't affected it as such. Phil Mackay getting 2, Otterson getting 1, the finishing ball, Byfold getting 1, Webb getting 1, and Maurice getting 1. For the Jets, your usual scorer there, Richard Hagger, probably scores every game. Cohen Taylor getting 1, and Morris getting 1 as well for the Jets. As for the Sheffield Scimitars and the D-side Dragons, I don't have any scorers for the Sheffield Scimitars, I'm afraid. But the D-side Dragons, as I say, week in, week out, it's your usual suspects. It's your Brodie Jesson, your Jared Dickinson, Andrew McKinney, and Dixon also on the score sheet. So as I say, no real shocks from the Saturday's fixtures. It was nice to see a good list of Saturday fixtures for a change. Normally you only ever see 1, maybe 2 games on a Saturday in the Moralee Conference, and nearly everyone playing the Sunday. But no, 4 games, all going as you'd expect with the form table, and obviously quite a few goals being scored on the night as well. So we move into Sunday, and again it was just more of the same. I wouldn't say it was a surprise result, but the surprise scoreline of the night probably was D-side Dragons 3, the Blackburn Hawks 6. I think a fair few people like myself thought the Dragons might have revenged the loss from the week before, or at least made it a lot closer of a scoreline. Your usual suspects for the Dragons scoring: Andrew McKinney, Jared Dickinson, and the returning Parsons. He's returned quite quickly. So yeah, for the Hawks, Barnes gets another 2, so that's a 6 goals weekend for him. Cross, Harcourt, and Jacob Lukwaj with 2. So yeah, Hawks were turning out 6-3 victors in that one. Next fixture, again, as you'd expect, Solihull Barons versus the Sheffield Scimitars. It's an 8-1 victory for the Barons. And not so much your usual suspects on the score sheet this time for the Barons. Crow, I know he's chipping in there from the back end. Anderton, Crofts getting on the score sheet, names that you're probably not normally seeing. I'm not sure if it's Anderton that maybe stepped up to that first line to replace Dan Mulcahy. And then obviously you've got your Phil Mackay, who's got 2, and Otterson with another hat-trick. And Ross Thorne for the solitary Sheffield Scimitars goal. The next fixture, again, just what you would expect, but we'll go into this one in a little bit more detail because I believe everyone will have seen the incidents going around on YouTube from Warriors TV. It was Whitley Warriors 8, Nottingham Lions 3. The scorers for the Warriors: Harley, Pow getting 2. He's finally done something. Andy Finlayson, Hodgkinson, Barnes, I believe that's his first goal since returning. Riaz Grigors getting on the score sheet, Callum Queenan. And for the Lions, shocked to see that there's no Yokoyama there, but he was in the thick of it during that game. Croston, Grimshaw, Somerton on the scoreline for the Lions. Now, going back to that game, there was a bit of a scrum going on. Now, I don't know what's fully kicked this off totally, but it looks like Jordan Barnes and Yokoyama go at it toe-to-toe willingly. Both of them somehow come together. Yokoyama flings Barnes to the ground. Not many people say they can do that. Yokoyama is in the top position as such, and he's obviously throwing knuckles while the 2 guys are down. Can't quite see if Jordan's protected himself or he's holding off Yokoyama. You can't really see that from the footage. Riaz Grigors comes flying off the bench, dives on Yokoyama and starts basically throwing him around, throwing big bombs on him while he's laid down, defenceless. And then, yeah, that was the big talking point from the weekend. From a Stars point of view, obviously everyone's a bit wondering, is he going to get banned? Is he going to be missing for the Stars game? Is he going to affect the rest of the season for the Warriors just because of the way DOPs are going on? But no, it came out this morning, late last night this morning, that Riaz Grigors got a 2-game suspension for leaving the bench and engaging in a fight. Now, I'll get into this a bit more after we go through next week's fixtures, because there is a little bit to cover on the DOP side of it. So I'll have to load that bit up later on in the show. But yeah, the main talking point from the Warriors-Lions game was the incident with Barnes, Grigors and Yokoyama. But we'll try and get into that a little bit more later on. And the last fixture of the Sunday evening is the Billingham Stars and the Widnes Wild. 12-2 winners for the Billingham Stars. I don't want to go in too hard on the Widnes Wild. There's a lot going on there. Something's not right within the organisation, whether it's ownership, coaching, players not wanting to play with other players. I don't know. It's not my scene. But something is not right at the Widnes Wild. But they have been by far the worst team I have seen in the division this year. And yes, the Stars have played the Scimitars, beating them 7-0. Yes, they played the Lions away from home, I think scoring 9-1, 9-2. But you could see something in them two teams. In Widnes, I don't see nothing. It looks like it's put together on a game night. And that's certainly how it looks with the two-ways as well. I don't know if these two-way guys are training during the week. But if they're not, that can't be helpful come game day. Just rocking up on a game day and expecting to perform. Yeah, it might give you individual talent and put the numbers up, the bodies, gives you a lot more bodies, but there'll be no structure there. How can you play systems if they're not training? And that means if you're doing systems and training with certain players, then you bring the two-ways in, who are then taking over from them players, you're going to put people off and they're not going to bother wanting to train or turn up for games. Something's not quite right at the Wild. Joe Coulter has got a lot on there. He's going to need to call on a lot of experience from the people he knows, drawing on his own experience. He's been around the league quite a long time with the Sharks and then going to play national with Leeds. So he does have a good phone book, as they say, to call back on people and talk to people and get advice off people. But he's got a tough job there at Widnes. Especially from him a couple of years ago. I remember the Wild sweeping the Stars in the league, all 4 league games. They were a very good side. But that's when the Stars' fortune started to turn. I believe we battered them in the playoffs. And the Stars have not really looked back since then. But for the Widnes Wild, I think it's gone completely the other way. I'm not sure if that's the year they won the Cup as well. I think they won the Cup that year. And ever since that, it's been a downward spiral for Widnes. So yeah, a lot of work to do there for Joe Coulter and the ownership group. Scorers for the game, 2 very well taken goals by the Widnes Wild, I must say. McNulty and Carruth. That Carruth is looking like a solid player coming from the Sharks farm team. Scorers for the Stars, your top line all got 2 each. Grittens 2, Sykes 2, Elder 2. Second line popped up with goals. Lucas Dowdle, Ian Brown, Emerson, who had a great weekend. I thought Jack Emerson for the Stars was unbelievable last weekend. Hopefully he's starting to get into some sort of form after having loads of injury issues. James Helens getting on the score sheet, as well as Alex Preston. The scoreline was warranted. That's all I can say about that. It wasn't a case of just running the score up and making the Widnes Wild look as bad as the scoreline sounds. The Stars have also got to play with an intensity and at a level that when they play the better teams, the Solihull Barons, the Blackburn Hawks, the D-side Dragons, that they're prepared properly for these games. Because it's all well going into games against your Wilds, your Lions and your Scimitars and winning by comfortable scorelines. But you need to be pushed. You need to be pushed to get better. The Stars have by no way reached a level that I've seen last season. They've not got close to that yet. And if we do get somewhere near there, and then I do believe we'll have a title winning side, but we've still got a ways to go to get to that level. We've got to keep our foot on the gas, like we did against Widnes. And if that means Drummond scores up, then so be it, because you've got to play at that high intensity. So yeah, just a quick run through from last weekend then. That's the weekend of the 25th and 26th. Starting with Saturday, Billingham Stars 7, Nottingham Lions 1, Blackburn Hawks 5, Whitley Warriors 1, Hull Jets 3, Solihull Barons 6, Sheffield Scimitars 2, D-side Dragons 5. Moving in on to the Sunday, you have the Billingham Stars 12, the Widnes Wild 2, the D-side Dragons 3, the Blackburn Hawks 6, Solihull Barons 8, the Sheffield Scimitars 1, the Whitley Warriors 8, and the Nottingham Lions 3. So yeah, obviously there was a few incidents last weekend. I'll get into that a little bit later on because I'll have to put up the page with all the suspensions on that have been handed out. But let's just get straight into the fixtures for this weekend, or this weekend's games. Tonight's games as well, as I record this. 2 games on the Saturday, only 1 in the Moralee Conference though. The other fixture is a Northern Cup game that only the Blackburn Hawks have entered this year, and they travel to Edinburgh to play the Edinburgh Capitals in the Northern Cup. being interesting to see how that goes, see what kind of level the SNL is this year, because I'm sure the Edinburgh Capitals will be one of the better sides. And then probably the game of the weekend, certainly for me, probably got my Stars rose tints on here, but the Billingham Stars versus the Solihull Barons tonight at 5:30 at the Billingham Forum. I cannot wait. It should be an absolute barn burner. Currently the two best teams by a long way. Both teams scoring goals for fun. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how things go. The Barons will have Dan Mulcahy unavailable due to suspension. I believe for the Billingham Stars, James Moss will still be missing with a lower body injury. But other than that, it should be a great game. And I think I posted somewhere, with the amount of goals that these two teams are scoring, it's not about the goal scorers. It's going to come down to the defensive unit and the netminder. It's who's netminder and whose defensive unit turn up on the day and put in the better performance. So moving on to the Sunday, the Blackburn Hawks versus Nottingham Lions. Fully expect an easy Hawks win. Got no reason, I've seen nothing from either side to think anything would be different in that game. There is a derby game taking place. I know this is in a cup game, but I'm not sure if it's counting towards the league as well. I'm not sure on that one. I'd have to double check. But the Widnes Wild are playing the D-side Dragons. I know that I believe they're playing twice this weekend. One's cup, one's league. Not sure which one's which. However, I do know they are playing each other this weekend. So I'm certainly intrigued to see how the Widnes Wild bounce back from last weekend. Because obviously that was a drubbing. A 12-2 drubbing can leave a mark. It can affect you for the rest of the season. But even so, I've said it before, against Widnes, I think they got, when we Billingham Stars stuffed them at Widnes, I think they came back and won the next game. They got a real good Coulter got a real good response from his team and got things together a bit there. So it'll be interesting to see how that game goes. And obviously D-side as well, on the back of a loss to the Blackburn Hawks, to see how they come back. And then the other fixture, you would normally say is the biggest fixture of them all, the Whitley Warriors versus the Billingham Stars. I'm completely being honest here, hand on heart. I don't see it as the big game this weekend. For me, I am focused on the Barons. The Stars need to beat the Barons. We've already lost there once already this season, so we owe them one. We've been to Hillheads this year and already won. The Stars, either way, will be going into that game very confident after a great win against the Barons, or they would have lost to the Barons, so they'll be coming in trying to bounce back from the loss against the Barons. So it'll be interesting to see which Stars team turns up on a Sunday. Obviously, a lot will be affect from the game against the Barons, but I'm sure we're going to have plenty of talking points next week after the North East derby. The next bit, I will jump into DOPS. I have had a few messages asking if I wouldn't mind running through just the Division 2 scores and their league table, just to give a bit of an update and just a bit of a roundup on everything that's going on up in the north in regards to hockey. So just bear with me a moment. I'm going to pull up DOPS first because there's a few talking points. Actually, no. We'll go into the Division North 1 table. We'll pull that up first. We'll quickly scoot through that. And the cup table, because the cup part of the season is nearly over now. I think we've nearly got all four teams confirmed in the cup. The Barons have qualified, the Stars have qualified, the Hawks and Warriors are looking likely it'll be them two, but they do have the Dragons and the Hull Jets chasing them down. The Dragons do have a game in hand, mind, with a couple of games left for each team to play. So it may change a little bit, but the Barons and the Stars currently occupy a semi-final spot. That won't change. Or what can change is who they play, depending on where they position in the cup table. Onto the league table, not a lot has changed standing-wise, as we would expect. Stars are top, 15 games played, 24 points, 98 goals scored. That's impressive. Solihull Barons, who we've also mentioned as free scoring this year, 74 goals this year, 15 games played, 22 points. Whitley Warriors, 17 games played, 21 points. In fourth place is the Blackburn Hawks, 20 points. Deeside Dragons in fifth with 18 points. And sixth place is the Hull Jets with 15 points. And then obviously, unfortunately, we do have a bit of drop-off into the bottom three. You got the Widnes Wild on 8 after 14 games. The Sheffield Scimitars on 7 after 15 games. And the Nottingham Lions on 6 points after 15 games. For Division 2, the Laidler Conference, the weekend's fixtures of the 25th and the 26th, we have the Altrincham Aces against the Sutton Sting. Sutton Sting running out 8-2 victors. The Kingston Sharks and the Bradford Bulldogs. Bradford winning 7-5. The Sheffield Titans losing out to the Coventry Blaze in overtime, 5-4. Then we move on to Sunday, and we have the Bradford Bulldogs beating the Altrincham Aces 3-2. The Coventry Blaze NIHL beating the Kingston Sharks 4-3. The Sutton Sting coming out on top versus the Sheffield Titans 5-2. And then the division's talking point, Nottingham Lions 2-0, Billingham Buccaneers 7, with still 5 minutes to be played in the game. So we'll get to that shortly. We'll quickly pull up the league table. So it's a bit of a funny table, this one, because we have Sutton Sting sitting comfortably top of the table, 17 games played, 28 points, lost 3 games. In second place, we have Telford Tigers NIHL 2 with 26 points, only 13 games played. Now, if I'm being honest, you look through that roster and you probably don't see them dropping points this season. That Tigers 2 side is a very, very good side. I know they've lost, I think 2 players have lost. One's gone to the Tigers national team full time, but that's still a very, very good side. So it'll certainly be interesting for how the season folds up and the other teams catch up game-wise. Obviously, Telford have got a fair few games to be played to catch up to the Sting. Obviously, only need to play 2 of those games to go above the Sting. Sutton Sting are top with 28. Telford Tigers 2 with 26. Coventry Blaze and NIHL with 22. The league's new side, Billingham Buccaneers, on 16 points, currently occupying the top 4 spot. Altrincham Aces in 5th with 14 points. Sheffield Titans with 12 points in 6th. Bradford Bulldogs currently 7th with 11 points. Nottingham Lions 2 at 8th with 3 points. And the division's other newest side, with 1 victory over the Sutton Sting, I believe that is as well. A bottom in 9th with 2 points. So that's a quick roundup of the Laidler. If there's anything else in regards to the Laidler you want to know, ask your questions. I can do my research and find out what's going on there for you. The Laidler are also nearly completed their cup proceedings. They've got 3 teams qualified, which will be Telford Tigers, who looks like they have probably won the Laidler Cup. They've come top, in the Laidler Cup. They'll be first, so they'll be playing the 4th seed, which at the moment is looking like the Billingham Buccaneers, but that 4th spot is still up for grabs. The Sutton Sting and the Coventry Blaze, them have been confirmed as qualified, and they will play each other in semi-final action in the cup. So there's a little bit of a way to go, is there? I'm just trying to work out who's got who to play. It's quite difficult to work out from the fixture grid. But yeah, you could argue it's 3, maybe 4-way tie. You could probably say the Aces have probably got the advantage, and it probably will be the Alti Aces that take that 4th spot looking at the cup table. They've got 2 games in hand on the Buccaneers and only 2 points behind them. So it's looking likely that the Alti Aces will take that 4th spot and play Telford in the other semi-final. So yeah, that's it for the Laidler. So let's just jump straight into DOPS. Yeah, we'll get straight into the one from Whitley Warriors, Nottingham Lions. As I said earlier, Barnes and Yokoyama were going at it with each other. Yokoyama flips over Barnes, looking at the footage that was being released of the game. Yokoyama is getting the upper hand on top of Barnes, punching him while he's down. And then Grigors leaves the bench, comes flying in, dives on Yokoyama, punching him left, right and centre, throwing bombs on him. Lad can't protect himself, and then it kind of turns into a 2-on-1. Nothing on Jordan Barnes. I didn't expect anything to be. Didn't need to be. He was willing combatant with Yokoyama. The pair of them were willing to fight each other. As for Riyad Grigors, 2-game suspension, leaving the bench during an altercation. The bit that sticks with me is, but he was also a third man in that fight. He also was fighting an unwilling combatant because, well, he hadn't agreed to fight him. He was also punching someone who couldn't defend himself because he was down on the ice. Which then brings me to Brad Watchhorn of the Oxford City Stars in the South. And I've seen this. 2 guys, bit similar, agreed to fight each other. Brad Watchhorn comes in, takes over the fight, and the 2 guys have a fight. Brad Watchhorn, 5-game suspension, 2 games for fighting unwilling combatant, and 3 games for fighting third man in. Where's the consistency, please? It's clear as day Riyad Grigors is third man in. No penalty. It's clear as day he's fighting an unwilling combatant or somebody who can't defend themselves. Where's the penalty? DOPS is a shit show this year. Nothing is consistent. Nothing whatsoever. Over to NIHL 2. Lions versus Buccaneers. Again, game's recorded. You see it clear as day. There's a bit of an altercation in front of the Lions net to the point where Buccaneers player Simon Geldart retaliates and checks the person in front of him. It's not to the head. It's something that you see every game, week in, week out, in front of the net. It's a cross-check. 9 times out of 10, not called. Don't know why. 4-game suspension. What's that about? You see it every week in front of the net. Week after week. You're going to go to your games tonight. You're going to go to your games tomorrow. You're going to see it happen 10 times a game. Easy. Go to a game tonight and see how many cross-checks you see in front of the net and how many of them get called. Won't be many of them. I'm certainly going to be interested to see what's going to happen with the Lions 2 side who left the bench with 4.5 minutes left in the game. I believe the result will stand at 7-0, but will any retrospective action come against them? Fine, points deduction, not quite sure. I don't think the IHA know what they'll do, to be quite honest. Last point on DOPS, and again it's NIHL 2, and it's a Kingston Sharks player. Receives a 22-game suspension. 22 games. 20 games for abuse of officials. Multiple use of profane, abusive language towards on and off ice officials. Resisting an official. Refusing to leave the penalty bench and playing surface. Physically intimidating the referee. 2-game suspension from the 27th of November for hitting plus 10 penalty points threshold. 20 games full of abuse. What has got you so angry? It's a game. Yeah, games, temperatures can run high. There could be a lot going on. A game can get real physical. But 20 games for abuse of official. What were you saying? Can't fathom what. Well, I can fathom what words were coming out of his mouth. But really? Necessary? This is an IHL 2. This is your hobby. This is your release from work Monday to Friday. You go down the rink and you have a game with the lads. You're playing competitively in a competitive league. Don't go throwing it away because of a 20-game suspension for abuse. Because 20 games, this is not your typical, you're a shite ref. You're a blind ref. You don't have a clue what you're doing, ref. We all know that's not what was being said here. He's gone above and beyond the normal of what referees get called. I'm not saying it's acceptable, because it's not. They're there enjoying their weekends as much as everybody else. And yet, I'll be there in the stands and I'll probably be shouting stuff tonight towards an official in regards to the game. And I might say he's shite. I might say he doesn't know what he's doing. I might say he's out of his depth. But what I do know is I wouldn't be saying the kind of abuse that would get a player suspended for 20 games. That's crazy. Well, I think that about covers it for this week. Let me know how this one sounds. Let me know how it comes to you in your ears. If there's anything else that you want me to cover, that you want me to talk about, drop me a message. I'm reachable everywhere, as I say every week. Drop me on my personal page, on the podcast page, Stick to the Pod. If you listen via YouTube, please like and subscribe that page. Would be great to get the subscribe numbers up on the YouTube channel. If you listen to through Spotify and Apple, again, thank you very much. But please do leave a rating if you can. It all does help. If you want to drop me an email, if you want to come on the show and talk about anything, I'm I'm open to it. I am still learning how to use this platform as such. I'm always trying to think of ideas of what to do on the show. I'm not sure how I will do interviews. I'm not really journalistic minded. It would be more just like a hockey chat and seeing where the hockey conversation goes. Maybe you want to come on and interview me to a point, I don't know. Ask me questions. But yeah, if you've got any ideas, drop me an email. sticktothepod@gmail.com. Twitter, or as we know, as now known as X. Drop me a line there. Facebook page. Yeah, any of those. Drop me a message. Let me know what you think. Any feedback's great feedback. And if you've got any ideas, don't be afraid to shout out. So yeah, we'll call that a wrap. Thank you very much.